Imagine this. You commit the perfect crime. A crime so old, the world has forgotten it. You live a normal life for 45 years. Then, one morning, you receive a phone call, and suddenly, you discover your DNA was under your victim's fingernails the entire time. Not just DNA, but the final fight captured in a microscopic speck, waiting to expose you for half a century. This isn't fiction. This is the story of Terry Leroy Bramble. It was 1978 in rural Pennsylvania. The world felt simpler, but evil still lurked. Mary Agnes Klinsky, a bright 21-year-old nursing student, had her entire future ahead of her. On a warm July evening, she was heading home after visiting friends. She never made it. Her body was discovered the next morning on a secluded dirt road. She had been brutally assaulted and murdered. The scene was chaotic, a struggle evident. Detectives combed the area, painstakingly collecting every shred of evidence: tire tracks, footprints, fibers. But in 1978, forensic science was rudimentary. DNA analysis was still a distant dream. Fingerprints were paramount, but none were found at the scene that matched anyone in the suspect pool. The case went cold. Mary's family was left with a gaping hole and a relentless question: who took their daughter? The killer melted back into society, confident that time and the limitations of 1970s technology would protect him forever. What vital clue, unknowingly collected, would become the ultimate weapon against the killer 4 decades later? Among the meticulously documented evidence in 1978 was a detail that seemed insignificant at the time, yet held the key to unlocking the future: fingernail scrapings. Mary Agnes Klinsky, in her final moments, had fought for her life, and in that desperate struggle, she had scratched her attacker. Detectives, following standard procedure, collected tiny samples from beneath Mary's fingernails. They were sealed in a brown paper envelope, labeled, and stored in an evidence locker, gathering dust for decades. This was before the age of CODIS, before the very concept of DNA profiling existed. These microscopic specks of skin, almost invisible to the naked eye, were a silent witness, a time capsule of violence. For 45 years, that envelope sat in darkness. Mary's killer lived a free life. He likely married, had children, watched them grow. He might have even seen news reports about the cold case over the years, feeling a surge of fear, quickly followed by the comforting blanket of false security. He believed his past was truly buried. But how could evidence from 1978, before DNA was even a concept, suddenly bring a killer to justice in the modern age? The turn of the 21st century brought a revolution: DNA forensics. Decades after Mary Agnes Klinsky's murder, cold case units across the country began to re-examine old evidence, hoping new technology could crack old mysteries. In 2018, the Pennsylvania State Police Cold Case Unit pulled Mary's file. The detective assigned to the case, now working with tools unimaginable in 1978, looked at the decades-old evidence log. The fingernail scrapings entry jumped out. It was a long shot. After 40 years, could any viable DNA possibly remain? Degradation, contamination, the odds were stacked against them. But science had advanced. A new generation of forensic techniques could extract DNA from even the smallest, most degraded samples. The sealed envelope was opened. The microscopic cells from beneath Mary's fingernails were carefully processed, and against all odds, a full, viable male DNA profile was extracted. The profile was uploaded to CODIS, the National DNA Database. A familiar pattern emerged: no match. The killer, like many from that era, had never been arrested for a felony that would put his DNA into the system. This is where the story takes a mind-blowing turn. With traditional methods exhausted, the cold case unit turned to investigative genetic genealogy. They uploaded the killer's DNA profile to public genealogy databases, the same ones millions of people use to trace their family history. The DNA profile didn't directly match the killer, but it matched his distant relatives, third cousins, second cousins. Slowly, meticulously, a genealogist built a family tree from these distant relatives, working backward through generations. They looked for individuals within that family line who would have been geographically present in rural Pennsylvania in 1978 and who matched the general age profile of the likely killer. One name emerged: Terry Leroy Bramble. Bramble was 23 years old in 1978. He lived just miles from where Mary Agnes Klinsky was murdered. He had no criminal record. He was a grandfather, a respected member of his community, living a quiet life in another state. He was completely off the police radar. But the family tree pointed directly at him. In 2023, 45 years after Mary Agnes Klinsky's murder, Pennsylvania state troopers approached Terry Leroy Bramble. They didn't have a warrant for his arrest yet. They simply told him they were reinvestigating an old cold case from Pennsylvania and were speaking to anyone who might have lived in the area at the time. They asked for a DNA sample, a cheek swab, as part of a voluntary elimination process, or to help rule out distant family members. Bramble, outwardly calm, agreed. He had nothing to hide, he reasoned. He was innocent. The sample was rushed to the lab. The waiting was agonizing. For detectives, it was the culmination of decades of work. For Terry Leroy Bramble, it was the beginning of the end. The results came back. It was a 100% match. The DNA profile extracted from beneath Mary Agnes Klinsky's fingernails in 2018, the profile built by forensic genealogists, was unequivocally Terry Leroy Bramble's. He didn't know. Not for 45 years. He had lived with that secret, that physical evidence, embedded in the very fibers of his victim's final act of defiance. When police called him to deliver the news, his composure shattered. He had been so careful, so confident. Terry Leroy Bramble was arrested and charged with the murder of Mary Agnes Klinsky. Faced with the irrefutable DNA evidence that had been collected in 1978 and preserved through pure chance and relentless science, he confessed. He admitted to the brutal crime, to taking Mary Agnes Klinsky's life, and to living with the secret for 45 years. For Mary's family, it was a day they thought would never come. They finally had answers. They finally had justice. Terry Leroy Bramble, the serial killer who believed he had outrun the law, was brought down by the silent scream of his victim, captured in a few microscopic cells beneath her fingernails. This case is a powerful testament to the relentless march of justice. It reminds us that no matter how long the silence, how deep the grave, or how confident the killer, the truth can always find a way out. Sometimes, it just takes 45 years, and a single, tiny, unforgettable fight. This incredible story of forensic persistence and ultimate justice moved you. Hit the like button and subscribe to Echoes of Crime. We uncover the cold cases where justice finally prevails. What other breakthrough forensic technologies do you think will solve the next generation of cold cases? Let us know in the comments below.